So, it's been a bit. Expedition 33 is a hell of a game, okay? It's only been about 2 weeks, but for me it's kind of felt longer than that. I don't know why, but it has. And I kind of wanted to talk about my recent feelings on the game regarding things like events and, how I felt about them and my thoughts and I guess the general direction the game's been taking recently. I do want to preface, I don't want to make this video seem overly negative or complainy, but there will be a good amount of criticism being thrown at the game in this video just because, I personally haven't been a huge fan of the recent stuff. I'd say starting from the Vina Victoria event. I will also say this isn't really scripted. I just got a few things I'm gonna go over. I just want this to be a kind of chill, yappy sort of video. So if you like that, I hope you enjoy. I'm just gonna be talking about the game and my thoughts. All right. So like I just mentioned, recent events like the Vina Victoria event or the Lappy event have just not been it for me. More specifically, the Lappy Altar event. There's a lot of mechanics I wasn't really thrilled about. I guess for starters, we can just start with the big carnival mechanic. I feel like this one was a nice thought, or there was some good ideas behind it, but the execution just kind of fell short for me. I like the idea of having this big, I guess, burst phase or chaotic phase where operators can't die and enemies go a little haywire and crazy and all that, but the main issue that plagues some of the later stages is that it just feels like either a stall fest where you have to wait for the next carnival, or you're just waiting for the carnival to start to actually beat the level, or you can't interact with the mechanic at all because the wick, the burning rope, is just permanently being stopped or slowed down. I feel like what could have made the carnival mechanic better was giving the player more agency over how they could deal with the enemies outside of the carnival, or more agency in making the carnival happen faster instead of it being stuck at just taking the amount of time it does. There's no way to speed it up. There's only a way to stop it from slowing down. The customization of the fireworks was fun in theory. You can make it adapt to each level and choose how you wanted to do it, and you could even choose the type of fireworks that happen during the carnival. But for me personally, it just became really repetitive and kind of annoying that I had to change it or try to adapt it each level, so I just stopped interacting with it at a certain point. I did mess around with it in the expert stages, but yeah, no, I don't know, after a while I'm just oh, do I gotta do this every level? You know what I mean? I don't know. That's just me though. Some people probably really love that, and that's totally fair. But I didn't do the S stages. First of all, was way too much into playing Expedition 33. That's my fault, all right? Game of the year! But also just, I don't know, I didn't feel compelled to do them. I heard some people in my Discord saying it wasn't super great. The boss stage was annoying. Yeah, so I didn't do those. But the expert stages were okay. This is actually going to kind of go into some of my more issues with the event a little bit. Why did we just decide that enemies all needed invisibility and damage reduction? Why did we need that? Did we? Including the boss, by the way. The event's over, I'm gonna say it. The Lapland boss, okay? Did we need that damage reduction? Did we? What this led to was certain operators making stages way easier than they needed to be, or making them almost feel like just necessary picks to just beat the levels. I don't know. When I played the normal stages, I arguably had a harder time on those than I did with the expert stages. And the main difference with that was I didn't have Virtuosa, and I don't know if I was running Inez or not. I probably was. Virtuosa and Inez trivialized this event. Virtuosa especially. If you put her on skill 1, the trucks, any of the enemies with damage reduction die because they don't have elemental resistance. They have damage reduction everything else, but elemental bro, one proc from her skill, I'm pretty sure kills the popcorn dispensers. And there's some stages that rely on those things being alive. You just place her down and she kills them. They're gone. Half the difficulty of the stage is just wiped away because she exists on the field. So I just think it's a little bit stupid design that you can have one operator who just makes some of these enemies feel like wet noodles, but then to everything else they're actually tanky and unkillable until obviously the carnival and stuff. But these issues coincide together, having to wait for the carnival to start to have to kill these enemies leads back to the whole idea of stalling and everything, and just making the event kind of clunky to play through and unfun. It makes stages feel longer for no reason. These things all pile on together just to make it a generally less fun experience. This also translates to the boss stages. I mean, I kind of thought the mechanic with Lapland was cool where if you killed more enemies, I think her effects would wear off and stuff like that, but even then it still was kind of whatever. I don't know. I just wasn't a huge fan. Even then, you could just place Virtuosa, and if she wasn't dying, she could burst down Lapland too, just while she was standing there. I will say, outside of all the problems I have with it, some of the positives for the event were like the tile set. I really thought the event looked pretty. I liked how the stages looked. I liked the design of the enemies too. Those were very nice. The music, I mean, you can't complain about the music. The music for this event was amazing. Arguably my favorite song was actually the menu theme for the event. I don't know what it is about that song, but when it first starts, the first 10 to 15 seconds just sounds so like a nice build up. It feels climactic, like emotional. I don't know, like a finale of sorts. It felt really good. I love that song. And I also really enjoyed the puzzle minigame. I forgot to do some of the levels on the last day, which is a bit of a bummer, but that's okay. What I did do though, I thought was fun. I enjoy puzzles, you know what I mean? So I mean, like overall, the event was fine. It's not like the worst event ever. I just think in their attempt to do mechanics, they just weren't the best, in my opinion. I prefer mechanics to not lean in just stat sticks like damage reduction or just slapping invisibility on stuff, or like this waiting game. I'm not a fan of waiting games. And I mean, to be fair, tower defenses as a whole are waiting games, right? But you get my point. We don't need more pointless waiting around. Anyways, enough yapping about that event. To move on to the next thing I want to talk about, it's Stronghold Protocol. Oh boy. Where do I begin with this one? I mean, if we said the Lappy event was kind of like not the worst thing ever, it was just kind of unfun in some ways, this is like worse than that. I actually still enjoyed the Lappy event to some extent, even though I had my complaints with it. Bro, I could not even make myself get to level 30 with this. I'm just like, couldn't be bothered. I will once again say, I've been playing a lot of Expedition 33, so my desire to play Arknights these past 2 weeks was like much lower. But even still, I think this event just missed the mark, bro. The normal mode is fine. It's not really that bad. I think most of the issues I have with this mode are just in hard mode mainly because it kind of gets really bullshit for no reason. But some of these issues still apply in normal mode. Just keep in mind most of them it's like for hard mode. The main issue with this is that this mode tries to replicate things like TFT or just auto chess games, but they don't do anything that makes those games fun, really. Like, for example, a big aspect of auto chess games, or at least the ones I've played, like TFT or King God Castle, is economy, managing your money. You choose to either spend it right away or maybe hold on to it for interest. That's nowhere to be seen in this game mode. It's either just spend it all in the round or you lose it. The only technical economy is if you want to buy something like an operator for what, 3 gold, and then maybe sell it a round or 2 later for 1 gold. But at that point, just let the money carry over to the next round. Like, it just feels counterintuitive. I don't know. Not to mention, there's not really like any other ways to get extra money unless you're using like a specific squad leader, which I guess is fine, but I don't know. Like, I'm pretty sure in things like TFT, you could pick certain like augments to increase the amount of money you get. I think there, you know what, to be fair, there probably is something like that in this mode. I probably just didn't see it much because there's so much RNG, which we'll get to. But, you know, overall, I just think the lack of proper economy in this mode definitely blows. If we're going to talk about economy, there's the shop. Good lord, the shop. I mean, items don't feel impactful, like, really at all, except for maybe some, like, a caster item or two, like the one that ignores resistance, maybe. And then like the class-specific items, like the sniper class items or the caster class items, really. Most of them just aren't that great. Like, oh, increase attack by 20%. Jesus Christ! Like, come on. Like how, even if hypothetically it's impactful, it's boring. It's just a stat stick. You do more damage. Wow. Like, come on. Can we not have something that maybe, I don't know, adds a fun effect? I think there was an item or two that added like a 20% chance to freeze, which is something, but it's still not really much of anything. And I mean, combine that with the fact of when you upgrade the shop, the rates are just bad too. Why is it on the last upgrade level of the shop, I'm still consistently getting like tier 1s and 2s pretty commonly? Like, I'm not trying to use those guys anymore, even if they're upgraded. I'm trying to get tier 4s, 5s, and 6s, mostly 5 and 6. I don't want a midnight, bro. Like, I'm trying to get my Ifrit, or I'm trying to get my freaking Ascalon, or what, you know what I mean? Like, and speaking of operators, dude, why can we only bring 4 of our own operators? That kind of sucks. I understand, I will say, like, obviously, giving most of the operators to the player makes it easier for newer players, but then just give us the option to swap them out if we want. Heck, even add restrictions on it, like tier 1 can only be like 3-star operators, and up to a certain point, like, don't allow certain star grades of operators. Like, don't allow 5 stars below a certain point, don't allow 6 stars, you know what I mean? I feel like it's not that hard, and it's just kind of like a weird thing that they chose to do. I don't know. Not that it matters though, really, because apparently the best way to play the game mode is to just bring Wizardell and Logos and just put them on tier 5 and rush to get them as soon as possible. Who's surprised about that? The mode as a whole is just like an RNG mess. I already talked about the shop and all that, but even things on like the enemy side, certain enemies just feel like an auto lose. The first time I played the mode, I went against, I forgot what they're called, is it Kajerig or something, like with the ice guys, and I just got froze to death. I couldn't do anything because I just got flooded with enemies and they froze everything and I died. Like, and that was on normal mode. Also, maps are completely random. So combine the getting random enemies, and some of them feel like auto lose, with certain maps that feel like auto lose, and then you're just like at a certain point re-rolling until you get a good combination of maps and enemies. Like, if you have to re-roll the stage you're on and the enemies you're against, that's a problem. You should be able to just drop into the round and play against whatever and try to work with what you have. I'm not saying like certain enemies on certain maps are like completely impossible, but for the most part, a lot of them just kind of do. I think overall the mode probably just wasn't play tested as much as it should have been. It feels a little unbalanced in some respects. Shit map with shit enemies and shit luck. How are you gonna win? I don't know. Now obviously in a game like TFT it's different because you're against actual players, so it's hard to kind of replicate that. But I mean, I've played a game like King God Castle and that's PvE and it works completely fine. And in games like those, you still rely on RNG a lot of the time, but in those games they give players more agency and choice in how they want to do things. Like if you take TFT, do you want to lose the early rounds intentionally to maybe get priority in things like the item selection and maybe save money and try scaling into late game with interest? Or do you want to get an early lead and try snowballing that out of control? Things like that where you're like there's different strategies or way to do things or play around it is fun and interesting, and it allows you to work with sometimes being dealt a bad hand at the beginning or just bad luck in general. I think the mode has a good foundation. Like, I don't think auto chess Arknights is a bad idea. I think it's really cool, but there's just some things about it where I'm like, if we put more thought and care into this, it could make it a really fun and interesting mode with plenty of replayability, and I could even see it becoming like a permanent mode in the game if they wanted to. I'm not like burnt out from the game or anything. I was just, you know, obviously recently been enjoying other things. I mean, I've started FGO, Fate Grand Order. I've been playing the heck out of Expedition 33. I'm almost done that now. So I've been doing other things. I've also just been busy, but like the recent events have just not made me feel compelled to play the game as much recently, and I don't like that feeling. I like coming into the game and being excited to play the new stuff. I really don't like this direction of just like sort of what feels like lazy mechanics. I don't want to throw the word lazy around, but like there's just some things that almost feels like artificial difficulty where it's like if you don't have certain operators or if you just don't play a certain way, you're not going to be able to succeed. And I really don't like that as someone who's been pretty upset with a game like Honkai Star Rail lately, where it's like if you don't have the new characters, you're just going to suffer. I really don't want to see this game go in that direction, especially with things like elemental damage. They're putting more focus on that now going into the future, it seems like. I don't want this game to just become you better have elemental damage or you lose. You know what I mean? Anyways, enough doom and gloom. I know I'm not usually overly negative about things, but this is just something I wanted to talk about. I've been kind of ruminating on it, considering on if I wanted to do it or not, if it was even worth it, and I kind of feel like it is. I felt like I wanted to talk about it, just be transparent. I don't want to lie and pretend I'm enjoying something when I'm not, or pretend I don't have criticisms about things when I do, you know? So anyways, I hope you enjoyed. I hope you liked what I had to say. Let me know some of your thoughts in the comments. Do you think I'm wrong? Be nice about it, but do you disagree at least? Yeah, but I hope you enjoyed. Subscribe to me for more. Join the Discord. We have a lot of fun over there, and I'll see you on the next one.